Welcome to another episode of the Coach's Box. Ray Halbrook, owner of Livestream STL. Hope everybody's having a great evening here. We are live from La Pachenga's tonight with the boys in-house. Everybody is doing great tonight, and we'll open up our lines here. Matt Schutte, you're going to take it away and get us started right away here.
All right, thank you, Ray Halbrook. Yes, so here we are at La Pachenga, my first dine-in experience here at this particular location. Riley Blair's 5,000th dine-in experience here, I believe, this evening. So the crew has eaten. I had let's start. We'll introduce our guest in a moment, but let's start. What did we all feast on this evening? Steak tacos here. Jason Jarvis.
Oh, Brothers Pizza every time.
Brothers Pizza every time. Chris Miller.
I just played safe with some cheese enchiladas.
All right. Riley Blair, I think we already know what you ate, but go ahead and surprise.
We'll go ahead and say it again. Oral Polo.
Sure. No guac.
No guac. No guac. Kevin Halley is our guest this evening. And Kevin, you didn't dine with us, and you're wearing white. So, wow. Gray and black versus, well, he's the white knight down there at the end of the table.
It was tater tot night at the Halley's house.
Well, tater tot night is hard to turn down, certainly.
You can't go wrong with tater tots.
No,
not even a little bit.
So here we are, May 12th, and we are winding down the school year for all of us. Graduation ideas are floating about and getting rained on and whatnot. And Kevin, you're here with us because you coach softball, you teach, you do a whole bunch of stuff. So we're going to just pick your brain about a few things. So welcome. You've watched enough of the show that you know that this itinerary we have doesn't really mean a dang thing. So we can just talk about whatever. So howdy, how are you?
Doing good. Thanks for having me.
Good to have you here. Oh, and I'd already violated our number one.
Oh, my gosh, again.
The phone was on mute. The mute button is activated. I'm over the age of 40. I don't know anything about technology.
As the tech director, you should see what he's like at school.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is awful.
Some of the dumb things I call him about.
How can I get Pandora to play on my 38th monitor in my office?
I do have a lot of monitors. There's no question about that. So, Kevin, you've worn a lot of hats at Pius. You're currently the head softball coach, technology director, and a faculty member as well, but you've also been the athletic director. We were talking earlier, you were the assistant soccer coach.
Yes, I was the assistant girls soccer coach. I spent a couple years as the head soccer coach. I've coached freshman boys basketball, JV girls basketball, one day of golf.
One day.
What was that day like?
It was a JV tournament, and it was raining. So awful.
Oh, yeah.
It wasn't even a good day. You didn't get to go play any.
No, that was
sucks.
after they had that rule where coaches couldn't play anyway. So, yes, in dean of students, I was in charge of discipline for a couple of years.
So, and right now, the thing that really kind of is taking up most of your time is that technology director thing, because Pius, like so many of the schools, doing online learning. What's the past month and a half been like for you?
It's actually slowed down. The teachers have kind of figured it out. Either that or they've started rebooting whenever they have problems. That seems to be a fix for most things. But it's gone well with the teachers. They've embraced it. They've kind of ran with some new things. I've been pretty happy with how it's gone.
And the students have been embracing it a little more than I think maybe any of us expected at Pius. So
yeah, well, that remains to be seen.
Embrace may be too strong a term, but haven't run shrieking in terror. Maybe that's the...
They're still turning stuff in, so I think that's about where we can go with that.
So you, as a softball coach, the fall sport for you here in the state of Missouri, you've also been a NFCA, National Fast Pitch Coaches Association board member. What's the sense you've been hearing? Is there going to be any summer softball at all? What do you think?
Most states, I would say, because we've had some discussions with some of the committees I'm on, that there's probably not going to be, for the better part of the country, there's probably not going to be anything until August. They've canceled. Some are going to try to. Now, the high school associations are well ahead of the travel or being a little bit more cautious in the travel associations. The travel associations they played last week here in Missouri. Right. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think here in Missouri we'll have probably play, I think, in July. It will start ramping up a little bit, but I think we'll be playing come fall.
I mean, do you think it'll be something kind of like the Korean Baseball League we've been watching on ESPN with everybody, like some of the people with masks and nobody in the stands?
No, if it gets to that point, they're not going to play. Yeah. I believe that. I think they want it to be – they might go no fans, but how are you going to keep fans away from where some of these teams play in city parks. You're going to keep fans out of city parks. It's not a feasible solution to play with no fans,
Right.
and really keep people away from those things. So if they can't be there, you're asking them to have common sense and just not crowd behind home plate and try to decide what's a ball and what's a strike. So I think we'll be playing. I think we'll have fans. I think we'll probably ask fans to bring their own chairs and sit in the outfield and kind of have some situations and stipulations that way. But I think it's something that's going to go. I'm probably more worried about other sports. I'm more worried about what they're going to do with football in the fall. Is it something that's going to is what they decide to do with the contact sports like football and soccer going to affect the other sports like cross country and softball? Right. So.
And you were an AD for a few years?
5 years.
5 years. Interesting time for Tilden Watson and your fellow ADs, former ADs right now, and what they're dealing with. So, yeah, what's your sense of the input that is Misha taking any input you think from the ADs, or is this pretty much their call?
Is anybody from Misha listening?
Well, it's on tape for perpetuity, and
then I'm probably going to plead the fifth on this one. But I don't think that I think they're taking input from probably the government, the governor's office, those types of things, who are getting their input from health associations and doctors and things like that. But I foresee them kind of going the same way they did all towards the end of winter and spring. They're going to play it until the last minute and let the school districts make the answers and try to decide for their own selves.
One of the things we've talked about with having three basketball coaches, but also coaches that have touched on other sports here, is the impact that the closures and the postponements and whatnot have had on college recruiting. What does this mean for you? With you've had a couple players that have looked at had college opportunities. So what does the lack of summer ball mean for kids like that maybe would get a look? Is it anything that's been discussed at all? Have you been hearing anything?
No, I think you're probably going to – I think the NCAA has made some adjustments. I think they're going to allow more coaches out on the recruiting trail. They used to have some pretty stringent regulations as to how many coaches could actually recruit. I think they're going to loosen that up and let more coaches out. I'm probably going to do it for other sports too, out on the trail. If you weren't aware, many times you have assistant coaches at the college level that aren't allowed to recruit, and I think they're going to allow them to go out and recruit and be part of that process. So you can get more coaches in the short amount of time that they're going to have. But the athletes are just going to have to be more proactive in making contacts. And the couple that I've had some conversations with from our program, that's what we've done. Our goal is to reach out to as many coaches as we can and get your name on as many lists as we can. And as soon as you have a schedule, let them know what it is and try to find ways to get them to come watch you play.
I did notice today that the JUCO allowed face-to-face contact with recruits starting effective today.
Yeah.
I saw that come out of O this morning. So.
As of right now, the NCAA is still in a recruiting dead period until the 31st of May.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't see that getting extended. There's some coaches and there's some areas that want to extend it through the end of July, but I don't think it's going to get extended that long.
And for softball, and correct me if I'm wrong here, I know softball I think underwent some changes in the recruitment timing similar to what women's soccer had, because kids were getting recruited hard as freshmen and sophomore, right? Didn't they recently change that for your sport where it came in a little later?
Yeah, we were having some real issues with early recruiting. There were 6th and 7th graders that were verbally committing to Power 5 schools.
You got 6th and 7th graders coach.
Well, I can tell you this: some of these kids, you're looking at because how females develop. You could have a 6th grader that could be 6'1", throwing 65 miles an hour. You don't think some University of Florida is not going to try to jump on that.
Hey, Miller.
And if it pans out, it's great.
I'm not going to tell you if I have any.
But
I was waiting for that one.
The NCAA pushed through legislation last year that allows no recruiting events or no recruiting contact of any kind before September 1st of a student-athlete's junior year. So they can evaluate. So they can go to camps and they can evaluate them and they can talk to them that way, but you cannot discuss any type of recruiting conversation until September 1st, which then kind of puts it more on the timeline of what a true student's college search is like.
And was this something the NFCA was like advocating for, that they wanted this change, or is this something they're not happy about?
It was a huge push when we were and you can blame the coaches for recruiting 7th and 8th graders and things like that, but it's an arms race at times in softball, especially at the college level. The more pitching you have, the better, and that's kind of where it's centered around is, these kids, it's prestigious. And I'll say it, a lot of times travel ball coaches, they hang their hat on what schools those kids go to. And if you're a 14U coach trying to get the best players to play on your 16U team, and you can go to some parent and say, listen, I've already got 2 kids recruited to Power 5 schools in the SEC, that's going to hold some weight when a parent decides if they want to be part of your team or not.
Oh, yeah.
So
one of the things we talk about with the show and with some of the coaches that come in is kids coming in, what kind of skills do you wish they had that they didn't have? Obviously, everybody wants like a polished freshman that can play immediately, but do you see like a gap between where their skills should be as coming in as freshmen and where you would like them to be? What are the biggest gaps there? And we're talking about like maybe a kid playing CYC ball or something similar, not necessarily somebody that's been playing travel ball for 3 or 4 years.
There's a lot of times the thing I'd love to see, because I can teach just about anything, is I'd love to see somebody that just loves the game and loves to compete at the game. Because I can teach an athlete to bunt, I can teach him to swing the bat and throw and all that other good stuff. But if I had to pick a skill, throwing mechanics are a huge thing that kids just can't do right when they come in. And many times it comes down to dads thinking, and I'll say it, and maybe it's not going to be the most popular thing in the world, dads thinking that softball is different than baseball when it's not. It's the same game, the ball's just bigger. And you got to, the swing's the same, so don't try to teach a softball swing versus a baseball swing, or throw it, softball throwing or baseball throwing. It's throw the ball where your kid's arm's not going to hurt after they throw it 30 times.
Coach, in my experience, I've had parents who've, blamed the PE teacher for how bad their kids throw the ball. So I don't know if you've ever had, if it blamed the PE teacher for, it's like, well, how come these kids can't throw a ball right?
My wife's a PE teacher. I don't blame them for anything.
Smart man.
What district is? Man. What number district is this now?
Which stop?
Not enough.
Aren't you teaching history now?
Well, I mean, jack of all trades and a master of none. I said I had those conversations. How come my kid can't throw a ball? I don't know. I'll teach basketball. Forget that stuff.
Yeah. Well.
Hey, Coach, talk about your team a little bit. Something you have in common with these 3 guys is each team that they coach for their primary sports, they're losing a lot of seniors. They're going to have to do some rebuilding this year. You've lost a lot of seniors this year as well. You're graduating, what?
9.
So
7 starters. So
ample opportunity for the kids coming back, I guess, for you. So
yeah, I've got some athletes coming in, and I'll get some kids that some of the returning starters have played in key positions for me. I have my pitching back. She'll be a senior this year. She's been a three-time first-team all-conference kid in Agers. But I'm losing catcher, first base, second base, and then 3 of the outfield positions, because my outfielders having to move to first. One of the outfielders is moving to first base. So we'll see. I have no idea. That's what the summer was going to be great for me, because I was going to figure out a lot of things this summer and see a lot of different things. And plus, I never know what's coming in as a freshman until they show up on August 10th. I'm competing against the girls' fall sport at St. Pius in volleyball. So,
right.
We'll see what happens there.
And so in the state of Missouri, they've gone to a model now where some of the softball programs can play in the spring versus the fall. What would lead a school to make that change? Is it just based on those sorts of numbers? And
it's numbers. It's being able to compete with both volleyball for student athletes at volleyball and softball at the same time versus what you have in the spring. Some schools that would struggle to have it in the spring just because they have, say, girls soccer in the spring, strong track programs. I think Herky's in that. They don't want to really split their athletes in that sense. When volleyball really only needs 6. You can kind of make the numbers work a little bit better than if you're trying to root against sports that need more athletes.
Gentlemen, fire away.
Oh, great.
I got a good question for you. You've coached boys and girls, and the difference between coaching a female athlete and a male athlete. What do you think is the biggest challenge between the two?
I've found in my personality, coaching guys was more difficult for me because of find a great way to say this. The boys that think they know everything already versus with girls, while there are in that sense, many times if it's kind of that saying, if you show them that you kind of, you want to see something bigger out of them, you care about them a little bit, they'll run through a brick wall for you. So, and I've had that's one of my strong suits as a coach, I felt, is my ability to create relationships with student athletes. So, I think my personality works a lot better I felt myself screaming way more at the boys than I do with the girls.
So I have to agree with that.
I have had some great guys that have coached, but as a whole, when I was coaching freshman boys and JV girls at the same time, a couple of years I worked with Portell when he was doing both. The practices would be right after one another. And the girls would just laugh because I'd be 3 minutes into boys practice and I'd be hoarse from screaming already after a 2-hour girls practice.
Yeah.
So
a lot of nods around the dais talking about the boys and those shortcomings. So you've been an AD. Coach Miller, I believe you've spent some time as an athletic director.
Yeah, one of my 7,000 stops.
So, and we were going to talk about resumes last week, and you ran out of paper in your printer.
Yeah,
I think,
said we can't do that.
So,
I mean, it's just too
it
much.
is only a 1 hour show.
Well, yeah. If they had the two of us, I mean, I'm at number 7. So
what
count.
at the small high school level, what do you like most about being the AD, and is there anything? What parts of it do you not miss at all?
I don't miss the time commitment at the small school because you just don't get some of the larger schools. There are ADs that maybe only cover one night a week because they've got enough administrators that can cover everything. But the small school, you're covering everything, and I certainly don't miss the never seeing daylight. I leave home when it's dark, and you get home when it's dark. So.
I find it's the same thing because whenever I was the AD, I was head basketball coach, I was an assistant girls coach, I was coaching junior high boys basketball, and I had to cover, supervision to state cross country meets and set. It was insane.
Right.
So I mean and
you were probably teaching too, right?
Yeah, someone. I mean, PE. We just talked about how bad that PE was.
It's teaching them how to throw.
Teach them how to throw. Shoot basketball. Okay.
So, all right, gentlemen, what else do we want to know about? I mean, I could just drone on and on, but anything in particular you want to hit Coach Halley with?
Oh, you've got to have a great question over here. You are cracking up.
Jason Jarvis, defender of the private school system.
I was a JV girls coach when he was a JV girls coach at Pius. So
you guys went head to head.
My question is, what's your winning percentage against these guys? Since we never coached against each other.
That was a long time ago.
I couldn't remember if he beat or we won. I would assume I probably lost, but
that was when Crystal had some pretty good pretty good teams.
All the girls who were any good probably played up then, didn't they?
Well, it was the same thing with our team. So,
I got a question for you, Coach. You've been coaching how long now?
This will be my 16th year at St. Pius.
So, in your 16 years, what's your most memorable moment as a coach?
The first time I beat Kelly High School in softball. Okay. At that point Kelly had been to had won 24 straight district titles, been to the Final Four like 14 times during that, and they had beaten the snot out of us every time I'd play them, and then we get them in one district title game in 2011. So awesome. It was one that I've only gotten them twice, both in district title games. So I'm extremely happy for both of those. Yes.
And you
had not 2-0. I'm like 2-40
well, in district title games, right? We can take that.
Yeah.
Well, and
actually, I'm 2-2 against them in title games.
They got you in the district title game in 2018, but then you returned the favor this year. Do I have that right?
No, we did not play them in 18, but we got them 2-1. We got them this past fall. Yes, down at their place, which is even sweeter.
Oh yeah.
Kelly's about this. I mean, that's their sport.
Yeah, they don't have volleyball in the fall. And they play softball both in the fall and the spring.
Right.
And they just added football a few years ago. So,
they added girls soccer, so it's taken away a little bit what they do in the spring. But pretty much everything they do is.
I'm just saying from a sports standpoint, they're not usually very big except for softball. Softball was the thing they hung their hat on.
And they still do. I had a pretty good team with 7 kids who had a lot of experience, and we were able to go down there and get them this year. So.
And Ray, I'm going to ask one more question before we go to break, if you don't mind. Another one of our recurring themes, things that we talk about here on the show, is officiating. And the gentrification of the officiating crews that we see around here. And Charles Underwood was on talking about how the baseball umpires are getting older, just like the basketball refs are. What are you seeing on the softball side of it?
Same thing as baseball. It's the same set of guys that pretty much do both. So I'd like to see more get involved, but I've tried to get a couple of people involved, but they don't seem to stick with it for some reason.
Well, it looks like we got a question out here for Kevin. Says, what is your best soccer coaching memory for boys and girls?
I never actually coached boys soccer because it was always in the fall. Girls soccer would be beating John Burroughs with a kid that had never played, scoring with 12 seconds left in the game.
There you go.
Oh, good one. All right, we're going to break based on that good memory there. Travis Banis, thank you for the great question there. So, Ray, we'll turn it over to you.
We will be right back.
What you guys do for Jefferson County sports, it doesn't go unnoticed by the coaches. In all sports, all sports. That. You know, I have a lot of friends that are basketball coaches, and I've been, of course, around Jefferson County all my life and followed all kinds of sports even before I got into the coaching. So what you guys do to help promote it with the kids is unbelievable, and we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
For you guys to take your time and what you do is awesome. Just awesome.
Yeah, well, we try, we work hard, and we think they deserve it. The kids deserve to be able to be seen, and if we can turn out kids in the community to better them, get them in college, and make them a better citizen, that's the key. Hey, thanks for being with us here for the Coach's Box. We appreciate everybody being on the Facebook waves. We're here at La Pachanga in Herculaneum. Appreciate the folks letting us come and do a remote here. And Joel, the fine owner here, great guy to deal with, great guy to. He's got a great establishment here. So you get a chance to come out here to La Pachanga. Go ahead and do so. I know that there's a few locations here, but we're here at the Herculaneum location. We'll let you know about some of our sponsors here today. Sponsors like Chris Schweiger. He's back at the Venti Beauty Bar. Call for an appointment, 314-610-5523. Give him a call over at the Venti Beauty Bar. Chris Schweiger. Also, Tara James at Coldwell Banker Gundaker. You can be sold while sanitizing. Give Tara James a call. Coldwell Baker Gundaker, 573-535-8038. Located in Festus at 502 South Truman. Give her a call, 573-535-8038. Also want to let you know about a brand new thing going on here. Vindel Services and Bada Bing Classics Car Show. It's Saturday, May 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 o'clock. 11 trophy classes, free food and soft drinks. Vindel, they are doing a great job over there just on the backside of Main Street, celebrating their first year anniversary. And this will be their first of the month. I think they're going to be doing these monthly, but their car show here again, May 30th from 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. We'll let you know a little bit what's going on for us here at Livestream STL as well. We have this Friday Night Lights. We just was given actually information that Friday Night Lights for Hillsboro will be moved till Monday. So we're going to let you guys know about that. That is Monday. That will be 8 o'clock. Also, we will be over at St. Pius High School covering graduation, tentatively Friday night. We're all keeping our fingers and toes crossed. All of our guys over here, we got some St. Pius guys here that are crossing their fingers as we speak. Also, over at Crystal City, we'll be there at the same time. So we're going to be broadcasting both of these on Livestream STL's Facebook page. So you'll be able to check those out. Both of those are 6 p.m. tentatively. Don't forget, those will be going on. So you'll have a chance to scroll down, and we'll have a few things going on all at once. So just letting you know about that. All right, I want to make sure I got everything out. Oh, one more thing here real quick. We want to get out the Roku channel. So if you haven't checked out, we have a Roku channel. This is how you get a hold of it. Very inexpensive, $4.99 a month, $4.99. Log into videos.tkdssports.com. That will get you onto the TKDS Sports Network. You'll be able to sign up and ask for the Livestream STL Roku channel. So that's how that works. And we are going to be back here after I pull my correct thing. There we go. We're going to open up the lines here again, and Mr. Shooty, you're going to jump right back in here. We're going to get started on our second half.
Yeah, segment 2 here, and we do have a question in from friend of the show, Jeff Whitener, for Kevin Halley. How does Coach Halley balance his teaching and coaching responsibilities along with the IT responsibilities at St. Pius X?
I don't.
I can attest to that. He doesn't.
Yeah. No, I only teach 2 classes. I teach coding and robotics. But you do those things during the day and spend your time coaching. I spend a lot of time on the phones in the evenings and weekends helping teachers work through issues, tech issues and things like that. So.
One of the things that we've heard is we've talked to the teachers and the students about going to this virtual learning model the last couple months, is that some of the teachers are saying they're seeing some things that they can incorporate into their classrooms next fall, whether we're virtual with hybrid or anything like that. So in that sense, has this been helpful for the teachers to gain the skill set there?
Yeah, this probably is the best technology professional development that I probably could have ever asked for. In kind of forcing teachers to do things. You're going to see teachers probably do more with blended learning in the classrooms, one of those, that very nice buzzword that they have in education, the flipped classroom or the blended classroom. But you can see between, the stuff that Google can do, stuff like Edpuzzle and Screencastify, you can do so many different things with those items.
Well, I know that the e-learning thing was such a big thing, especially for snow days. And when all this started hitting, at Grandview, one of the things they talked about was, trying to incorporate the private school model e-learning into public school maybe next year, not only for snow days, but for something like this, God forbid, happen again. So, I mean, what do you see as kind of like the quick pros and cons?
The cons are always the availability of connectivity for as many people as possible. That's always going to be an issue. You're just going to have to, as teachers, we're going to have to be compassionate to those types of kids. Can't force people to do it, but there are companies that have stepped up. Sprint and Verizon, if you're one of their cell phone customers, they've given you hotspot access for free during this entire thing. So you can get those using your phone as a hotspot if you get good cell service at your house. But pros are, it allows you to continue. If you really want to use it correctly, you can continue to do this type of learning in these situations, and you're going to lose something, but it's not going to come to a dead standstill. If you really want to do it, you don't have to stop and do the things that some schools are doing. You can keep going. More people will do it than what people give them credit. People, I think, give them credit for doing it.
I still think there's a big part of the actual teaching in the classroom part. Even as far as being a coach, when you're teaching it, you're in the. It's one thing to say, okay, guys, I want you to do your workouts online or whatever. You're texting the kids, especially during this time. It's like, hey, I need you to do this, or you're actually putting them through it, which is a lot different. But I can only imagine, I mean, when it's all said and done, to see the difference between the kids that had to do a lot of the virtual stuff in comparison to sitting in a classroom with Coach Jarvis learning about social studies, I'd say it's night and day difference, because I think that actual experience, not just because it's you.
Well, of course, because it's me, but go ahead.
I mean, it's just the same as any teacher. I mean, it's worth their salt. I mean, that face-to-face interaction is so much better.
The in-class model is definitely better. What this does, this is going to allow more teachers to give them more tools that they can incorporate that they've used before, or that they haven't used before that maybe they think are an option now to do some things. So I'm happy with it in that sense. I think in our school, I think it's, I don't know how students like this, I think it's the death of the snow day in our school.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
The traditional snow day. I think it's the death of that.
Got another question on here for you. Is it true that Eli Boyer is the best coding student that you've ever had?
I've had 2 Eli Boyers. One, yes. The other, no.
Care to elaborate which one?
Which one would you?
No.
Well, there you go, Dan Boyer. So,
Hey, Dan, Eli can answer that question for you.
hey, I
It seems
like
like
it.
one of the challenges as we're in this hybrid / online learning situation is it's something that really came to light for me today. We're looking at our graduating class, 78 seniors graduating from St. Pius this week, and in reviewing like their school history and whatnot, 70 of them have been involved in either a sport or another official extracurricular activity, and that involvement is such a big part of the high school experience, and something the 4 of us, 5 of us actually traded an article and text about earlier this week. Was one thing that the state of Missouri is trying to figure out is like, how do we pay for the school, and how do we get back to what is normal going to be. And one of the thoughts out there was full year-round school, and there's certainly merits to that as well as detractions, but also offering school but without the extracurriculars. And I think all of us, I've got 4 coaches here, so I'm sure all of you have an opinion that way. But how important is it for kids to be involved at not just in sports, but in clubs and theater, art, music, things like that? How vital is that for kids to be able to do that?
Who wants to answer first? I'll answer first. I mean, I think it's very vital. I just, that there's so much you learn outside that classroom in those other activities, whether it's, Stuco or whether it's, I got my kid finally to try to get in Stuco now. And, those are all activities that we need those kids to be involved in to keep them interested in the main thing we need them to do, which is math, English, social studies, science, and those things. And, I can't imagine school without extracurricular activities. I'm going to do whatever I need to do, but
Right.
I'm sure hoping that we find a way that we can incorporate all these activities still, because kids need an outlet for some of that stuff. I know as a kid, I wouldn't have made it a lot of times in school, or maybe not have behaved as well as I did.
No.
Because of the sport or the activity I was involved in.
Gotcha.
And I think you're opening up a lot of problems if we can't figure out a way to make it all work.
Texas is throwing out some interesting ideas. I heard it from an administrator. He was talking with other administrators around the country via Zoom, and he said that what Texas does is, like, if their kids play sports, they do cores in the morning and then they do their sports in the afternoon. Yeah. And then the kids who don't play sports, they'll do their cores in the morning with everybody else, and then they do their electives. So that's an interesting concept that they're talking about. It's just ideas. Throw something against the wall, see if it sticks. But, for me, we're in a small school where we had to, I played sports, but then just so we had those other things, I did shop, I did art, I did band, because if the kids, that played sports didn't do it, we didn't have it. We couldn't have it, and then, it was one of those things where we just did everything. So I think those kids would lose out on something like that.
There are already schools in Texas that are using that model, because I've spoken to some other coaches and softball coaches. Like, I've got my kids softball players 50 minutes a day, and because his softball program's large enough, he has a varsity softball class, so they get credit for being on the softball team. And they have a JV softball class, 50 minutes a day, then practice after school. So,
I would kind of like that. I don't know. Just from that standpoint, I kind of like that.
Did anybody feel the administrators watching this just kind of pucker up a little bit when they heard that comment?
Oh, yeah.
If there was any watching, I think they just jumped off.
Well, you worked for like half of them that probably listened.
That's probably true.
Yeah.
I could probably call them right now and ask, but get on the show.
They're all on your resume. So.
That's true.
I think the biggest thing that it comes from extracurricular activities is, that the friendships that you develop, and I think that goes a long way. Just you sit in that classroom, you don't get a lot of chances to talk amongst each other or to be a part of each other.
Not in my class, you don't. Just let them listen to me.
Exactly right. And between you and Jarvis, I don't know who's worse. So,
Hey, now, don't be throwing my teaching style in with his, because he keeps saying how terrible he is, and I don't think I'm terrible.
But I think that growing up as a student athlete, I think I gained more friendships over the years, as a player on the field or on the court or whatever it was. You built so many more relationships, and I think that comes a long way and goes a long way throughout the rest of your life. How to deal with people that maybe you don't like, and how to handle that situation or a situation that you don't maybe have to come encounter with, and how to deal with it. So I think that's an important thing to take away. If you take that away from these kids, how do they handle that once high school is over, and how do they handle dealing with situations that occur? Because how often are you going to deal with a situation in a classroom amongst 40 kids or 30 kids or whatever it is? So.
And how often do we see a kid that's maybe super introverted and quiet, maybe struggling with school, but the athletics provides that outlet and that opportunity to make those friends that helps them blossom, him or her blossom a little bit. And in my experience as a college counselor, the involved high schooler is the involved collegian.
Agreed.
And the involved collegian is much more likely to be successful once they get out into the real world versus like the complete introvert that can't have a conversation with anybody and things like that.
You look at all these Urban Meyer and some of these major football coaches and other sports, they're looking for guys that aren't, guys and gals that aren't playing one sport or not involved in one thing. They want that well-rounded individual, and, I think sports is a big part of that.
Well, I think just that socialization aspect, because so many kids, technology is great, but so many kids spend their time with a screen in front of them. To me, that's fine, and it's important, and I got one in front of me right now, and I use my phone. But you still want them out there playing the sports, and then it's going to carry over in the life, because outside of having a pandemic where you have to do interviews via Zoom or via something like that, you're doing an interview face to face. You have to have socialization skills. You have to be able to look somebody in the eye and talk to them, and be able to get that critique and stuff that you get from sports and constructive criticism. And I think that's so important for our kids that we can't get rid of extracurriculars. Yeah. Not at all.
Well, the one thing we lose a lot of this with this virtual learning, e-learning, is the kids are working by themselves a lot of times, and that the extracurriculars add in the capability of working with another team member, and losing that's a huge thing, because you see it goes right along with what you said. It's a lot of times in the real world you're working within teams of people and groups of people, and you got 6 different personalities, and you got to be able to find a way to get along with 6 different personalities, and you do that on a team in a lot of ways.
And my daughter, she's been quarantined along with everybody else, and she's really been sticking with it. And the two notes about that. One is she was giving me grief. She said, "You'd been dying 30 years ago or whenever you were a kid if you had to be quarantined without the technology I have, because I'm pretty social." And she's FaceTiming with all her friends. She's keeping those relationships up and things like that. But they were trying to do a team project online and struggling with it. And she's like, "I don't understand why this team stuff, I don't have to deal with this." And I said, look, that's my life, with my work and what I do. Like right now at work, what am I working on? A safety project, and Kevin and I are working together along with 3 or 4 other people. Working with graduation, there's a team of 8 of us trying to get that thing going. And my wife, her work is pretty much entirely team projects. And in the working world, Riley, I'm sure in your work with Pepsi, you probably got to work with teams all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so if you're not able to do that, even though we're going to a more and more virtual world, you're going to have those interaction skills, and that's what extracurriculars really do. So when we saw that article, and Missouri's education people were toying with the idea, well, maybe give school districts the idea of, it's okay to get rid of extracurriculars. I think all of us were in agreement, like, this is an awful idea. So,
and they had band listed. We're not
band
talking
and PE.
You're talking about. There's people that have been doing this for 15, 20 years and have touched hundreds and hundreds of lives, and now they're not going to be able to teach people how to play, music. And, there's just so many things that they got to work out.
My wife's a primary PE teacher, kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade. She got really upset with it because of how much at that level, that outlet, that 30 minutes every 3 days that they have for those kindergartners. Can you imagine having kindergartners trapped in a classroom for
I can't
4
imagine
hours?
having the elementary kids have the rotating PE schedule. We had PE every day.
Yeah.
And to
PE
me,
every day was awesome.
Yeah, it was like, hey, it's PE class time. Yeah. The once every 3 days, it's insane. I couldn't handle that.
There's 800 kids in her primary school, so she can't see 800 in a day. There's two PE teachers, and they teach at the same time in basically half a gym. So I couldn't. If they go below 7th grade, they're too young for me to try to teach. I can't do it at that point. So I wish she's a saint for doing that age group anyway. But those kids need that outlet for at least 30 minutes a day. Their classroom teachers need them to have that outlet for 30 minutes a day.
Right. Was that line from Billy Madison? Miss Libby needs her alone time.
And Ray Halbrook needs his commercial time. We're going to turn it back over to him right now so he can pay some bills. Ray, take it away.
I do, and we will be right back in just a minute. Thanks for watching the Coach's Box.
Are you guys all caught up on the last dance? Ray, I'll say real quick, I really admire what you guys do with this. I think everybody who's ever tuned into one of these, whether it's a Legion game, whether it's a high school baseball game, with basketball, football, whatever it is, I've heard nothing but tremendous feedback about live stream STL and what you guys do and the quality of production, things like that. I would really encourage anybody who's involved in athletics throughout the county, or really anywhere in the metro area, anybody who's interested in sponsoring activities to get on board and get involved with this. I think it's added a ton to what we do here. It's added a ton to the program. You guys are a class act, and you're committed to doing things the right way, and we really appreciate that.
And we are back. I wanted to give you guys some breaking news. Breaking news, here it is right here. I wanted to make sure I didn't forget this, but our breaking news is this. We have heard about 253 baseball coming back next month here. We also have confirmations out of a few other Legion teams and Slava teams. So that will be a huge thing for us. So if you're interested in helping us sponsor for us covering these games, give us a call, 314-852-4398, or live stream STL at Outlook.com. Sponsor with us. We're going to start putting together packages for the summer season for high schools. And also, if you're checking out any of our Friday night lights, this will not be this Friday. It will actually be Monday, 8 o'clock. This will be Friday, pending rain. The St. Pius graduation. 6 o'clock is the scheduled time this Friday, as well as Crystal City's graduation. Both of them 6 o'clock. I'm going to split myself in half. No, I'm going to send my wife over to Crystal City, and I will be over at St. Pius, and we will have that in its entirety, hopefully pending no rain. Also, don't forget about the Vindel Services and Bada Bing Classics Car Show. That is Saturday, May 30th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. 11 trophy classes, free food and soft drinks. It is free admission to get in. If you're interested, give Vinny over at Vindel Services LLC a call at 636-638-2500. Don't forget Chris Schweigert. He is back at the Venti Beauty Bar. Give him a call, 314-610-5523. I know everybody's looking for somebody to get their hair cut with. Why not Chris Schweigert? Give him a call, 314-610-5523. And also Tara James over at Coldwell Banker Gundaker. You can be sold while sanitizing. Give Tara James a call, Coldwell Banker Gundaker, 573-535-8038. One of our great sponsors here, located at 502 South Truman in Festus, Missouri, 573-535-8038. We're going to open up the lines here for our final segment. Guys, we've had a really good time here, and they're just cutting up while I'm doing my commercial sid. That's okay. But Matt, what do we got going on for our third segment?
Well, another recurring theme we've had is all of us here at the table, I think, have been enjoying The Last Dance, the Jordan/Bulls documentary. We had
most of us.
Most of us without the real job.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. At least you're learning that.
So we had our latest episodes. Episode 8 was on this weekend. Chris, I saw you had posted something on there about that. And just what did you guys think of the latest version that we saw there?
Anybody who watches that, and I know it seems like it's awfully subjective to Michael Jordan being great, but if you don't think that Michael Jordan was the greatest of all time, just the way he just made people better, I mean, I don't think I'd love to be his teammate, but at the same time, as a coach, I would love to coach him just because you know that's taken care of. If you ever wonder about who's your leader on your team, and I have before, I wouldn't have to worry about that. Phil Jackson's great, but you didn't have to worry about that stuff.
Right.
And the fact that your leader is pushing everybody, he's holding them all accountable, he's winning all the wind sprints in a practice. This is an NBA player who's, the greatest basketball player in the world who could take it easy. He ain't doing it. He ain't doing it at all. His goal is to win a championship, and that is it. And if you ain't on board, get off the boat.
Yeah. He's able to hold other people accountable because he holds himself accountable.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. To the extreme, he holds himself accountable.
So,
he was so upset just talking about how much
he got emotional,
how determined he is to win, and I just hope all my kids are watching this. That's what I hope, because sometimes I think they look at me and think I'm crazy about how bad I want to win, and I love for him to have half or quarter of the drive that Jordan had.
Yeah. There's a quote I've seen on a Jordan poster, and I've seen it in some of the ads, and it talks about he was trusted X number of times to take the winning shot to end the game, and he missed. And he's missed X number of shots in his career and things like that. I've failed so many times, and that's why I succeed. And that really gets driven home. To me, the thing, I remember when he went to play baseball, and there were some folks that maybe didn't understand just how difficult it was. And I remember not being particularly impressed because I wasn't thinking about it at the time, but he hit 202 in Double-A as a 30-year-old, 31-year-old. And Terry Francona, who I think has been a terrific interview in these, says, you know how hard that is? That he drove in 50 runs and hit 202 in a full season in Double-A in his first real year of organized baseball.
Well, the other guy they interviewed, I forget if it was the White Sox GM or somebody, said he would have made Major League Baseball.
1,500 at bats, he would have been a major leaguer.
He would have been a major leaguer if he would have stuck at it.
If you ever get a chance, not that anybody has who doesn't have a real job, a chance, you can watch that 30 for 30 episode that Jordan rides the bus, which is all about him in the base. I mean, he would go before they had team hitting. He's in the cage working. Yeah. Then he does the hitting. Then he's a freak. What kind of guy does that? It's a guy who wants to succeed. And the fact that he went from 17 years old, he played baseball, stops, plays basketball, obviously. 31 years old, he's playing baseball. That's a long time. He goes to Double-A, which isn't, that's
not an easy league.
That's not an easy league.
And the only reason he went to Double-A originally was because the media couldn't handle anything at A-ball or young. So they had to send him to Double-A, and he had to fit in or this thing was going to be a failure for him.
Yeah.
So he was able to work. He made himself a Double-A ball player.
And baseball is not an easy sport.
No, he was talking about his hands.
Yeah, how chapped they got,
how
right?
blistered and how chawed up they were. And then when he finally decides to go back to basketball, he had to change his whole body again. And he said he wasn't ready. And I love to watch the behind-the-scenes part of where he goes from 45 to 23 because of something someone said.
Nick Anderson.
Yeah. Nick Anderson.
45, 8, 23.
Yeah,
okay.
That was awesome.
I think the fact that it's just one of the reoccurring themes as I'm watching this is, and you can see it with anybody they interview, it's like, so-and-so said this, and they're like, oh, no, why would you say that to Mike? Yeah. Why would you do that? Because you just know he's just going to take it. He's going to hold on to it, and he's not going to let it go.
They said was it Horace Grant? Went to Nick Anderson and said, "Yeah, thank you for doing that. Yeah,
thanks a lot.
You just poked the hornet's nest. Yeah. Thank you for doing that."
When they showed him what Gary Payton was saying about how he locked him down and how hard he started laughing, I was like, "Oh yeah,
I got no problem with the glove. I got no problem with the glove."
that was pretty funny. So one thing that was disappointing, I remember watching the Scotty game, and when you say the Scotty game, one thing everybody knows what you're talking about. I didn't remember if Kukoc had even made the shot. I couldn't remember who won the game. But I remember him sitting that out, and just my friends and I that was all we talked about for a few days afterwards. And they touched on it, and Scotty was very open about it. But one thing he said that was, to me, was just stunning. If I had to do it over again, if I had to do it over again, he would do it. He said he wouldn't change it. And I thought, man, stunning to me.
I think was it wrong and he admitted it was wrong? Yeah, but his point, not that I would ever encourage it, was he felt like he should get the ball. I mean, and you want your best players to want the ball. You don't want them to hide away from the moment. And he felt that he wanted the ball, that he should get the ball in that situation. Now, obviously that differed from Phil, and this is what I'm going to draw up, and that's just the way it is. You in or out? Nope, he's out. All right, let's go.
And now,
well, even in that sense, there were plenty of times where Phil put the ball in Jordan's hands, and it ends up in Kerr's hands or Paxton's hands because it's the open man. And I get that. Pippen wants to be the man. It's his time. He doesn't mean you quit on him. You go out on the floor, and the ball might still end up in your hands.
Well, I didn't say he was right, but I mean that's why he's probably saying that he would do it again.
Oh no, absolutely.
That's how he felt. But what I thought, my big takeaway is instead of tiptoeing around it, it was just brought up in the locker room.
Oh yeah,
and I mean, as a coach, there are times where you have to address things, and then there's times where you just kind of take care of it behind closed doors. But just the fact that we're going to talk about it, and then Bill Cartwright jumps in, and I mean, and that's how it's supposed to be. I mean, you're supposed to be able to hold each other accountable.
I think you can address that in a locker room full of people that are getting paychecks with commas in them each night versus a high school locker room. And you have to be a little bit. You have to do that. You can go after it, but it's going to cause you. Probably, is it going to do the team any long-term good to do it in front of everybody right there, right after the moment? You can address it, but it might, practice the next day or something like that. But
okay, a quick poll for the 4 coaches that are here. Have you ever had a situation where something blew up, not to that severity, of course, but over the course of a game, something blew up, you had to address it in the locker room after the game that night? We won't go into specifics, but...
Well, I mean, we've probably all had that at some point in our career.
And we're not talking about situations where maybe you got teed up for saying something you shouldn't have, and you need to.
I haven't had
others
that.
at the dais may have to
talk to
explain
these
that sort
two.
of
They
thing.
have a lot more T's than I do. But
Kevin Halley, have you ever had a technical foul coaching basketball?
not coaching basketball.
So that's yet there's a great picture the leader uses of him. It's their stock photo of him explaining
when
to
you
two
Google
umpires.
search my name, it's the only one that comes up.
So you've had situations you've had to address in the locker room immediately.
It's funny with the Scottie Pippen thing. We were playing in a game, and it was I guess it would have been Jordan Duncan's sophomore year, and I drew up a play for Jordan Duncan, and he looks at me and he goes, "Matt Sales has hit about every shot he's taken tonight, Coach. Let's let him run my spot." And I went, okay. And he was right. Matt Sales goes out and hits the shot. But that was Duncan knowing that, hey, this is Matt ended up with 36 that night or something like that. And it was just that player knew, hey, he needs to take that shot, not me. And,
It's a remarkably mature attitude for the young man to take there.
Well,
as a sophomore.
he was a heck of a kid to coach, but in Pippen's case, I just couldn't believe he didn't go out on the court. I still watching that Sunday night. I'm like, golly, as a coach. Well, and Phil was very blunt with what he said, and I was like,
we can't talk about what he said on here.
I was like, good for Phil, but I mean, and then for him, like I was like you, for him to say he wouldn't changed it, I was just like, golly, okay. I mean.
So, Chris, have you had a situation you've had to address in the locker room, even after a win, because they won the game, but have you ever had to close the door immediately and say, we're knocking this out right now?
I mean, what about this district championship game, the call at the play of the game? I mean,
well, I mean, that was probably them talking to you about how far you were on the court.
Redrawing the coach's box in the locker room.
Well, listen,
there is no coach's
half
box
court?
at Herky if you haven't noticed.
Yeah, no, wait,
when he
wait.
coaches there.
There is. And there was this one time, I would have to probably say it was the first time I coached at Herky. I got told that the coaching box wasn't drawn right. So I had to stand. I'm inside the box, and do you remember this?
Oh, I do.
Yeah. It was, and I don't know. Yeah, you were coaching.
Yeah, he was.
And I was standing right there by the line, and the official told me, he said, "You're not in the box," and I said, "Yeah, I am." He goes, "No, it's not drawn right." And I said, "Okay, well that's where the line is." He said, "Well, you need to move over a foot." He told me, and I'm going, I am not moving over. I'm a little stubborn at times.
No.
You guys, come on, don't blow me at it. So I'm like, okay, I move over a foot and I move back. And he goes, I told you. And now he's not even paying attention to the game. And he's like, I told you to get back and you're not in the box. I said,
I remember this, by the way. But
I am in the box. And so he proceeded to, tee me up because I felt like I was. But apparently the boxes are not drawn correctly at Herculaneum. And I thought
not
that
compared to what the rules are now. No, they're not.
No.
But I didn't know. I mean, here's the
Biases
line.
aren't right then either.
Well, I mean, there's several gyms throughout Southeast
Well, yeah,
Missouri.
because they're
and all
not
over the
right
place.
because now you can go all the way down to the baseline. So, I mean, none of them are,
I always could. I mean, know what you're talking about.
Well, some of us can.
Well, yeah, you can go wherever you want, Blair.
Riley, have you had a situation you've had to address it in the locker room immediately after a game?
I probably would say on one hand, maybe situations that happen like that. And sometimes they were positive things that you had to address. Some kid maybe, passing the ball to the open player. We just set up a play or designed or whatever for the right person, and they wasn't open, and they found the right one or whatever. And then sometimes, some people, frustrations or opportunities that come into play after a game. Somebody's frustrated they didn't get the ball very much, or didn't get to play very much, and so sometimes those are things you address. But sometimes, a lot of times, those are the things you address away from the team too. So I think that sometimes as a coach, you just got to understand when that right time is, and it's not an easy situation either way. So
Is that experience?
Oh yeah,
Figuring that out
for sure.
Coach Halley, what about you?
It's been very few times. Many times, the first thing I normally have to. Sometimes I'll end up in these situations to address is, it's me apologizing for, I can say to them it's something that I've done during the game probably cost us that game, a decision I made, sending a runner, we lose by one, or changing pitchers and then we get hammered, that type of thing. But, so that's the first thing I normally do. If that's the case, I'm the first one to go into that team huddle in the outfield and tell them that one's on me. And I think that goes a long way to letting those kids know that you're there with them. It's you're part of that, and that you're trying to do the best, give them to be successful. And if it's okay if they fail, because then they can step up and apologize when that happens and move on. If I do it too, so
Got it. Good answers, gentlemen. So, anything else out of the last dance that stuck out?
Yeah, hey, Riley, anything out of the last dance you want to point out?
what was your favorite thing from episode 8?
Bad answer.
No, he's going to be binge watching that here, jumping on that here shortly, I'm sure. So,
Well, I mean, it was Mother's Day, so let's give you a little bit of slack.
That's right.
A little bit.
How did you guys all like Tony Kukoc and what he basically said? I mean, he was just kind of like, well, I've made a lot of those shots, And
they showed. They showed proof.
I think Tony's been really good in this thing because
Yeah,
they started out with introducing him because of the way they treated him in the Olympics, and he handled it with class when they did that. He's like, I just had a bad game, and
yeah, he played well the next time they played,
Yep.
even though they still killed him. But
I think he ended up earning some respect with Jordan and Pippen. At that point moving forward. So.
It's funny though because I just remembered it, and I don't remember if they said it on the documentary or not. But one of the other things too you got to think about is here's Kukoc who's coming in. He's Jerry Reinsdorf's baby, basically. Krause's baby. Excuse me, Jerry Krause's baby, and he's making more money without playing one single game in the NBA than what Scottie Pippen's making. So I'm sure that probably crossed Scottie Pippen's mind a little bit too. Like, what?
Yeah.
You're having for this guy?
What stuck out to me was Phil immediately knew in this down and distance situation, extrapolate that out to basketball, but he understood Kukoc had successfully executed that play twice already that season, and he knew he had a track record in Europe. I think there also had to be an element of, in the Knicks huddle, they had to be saying, do not let Pippen beat us.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. When you have a Jordan Duncan, they're going to
trust
focus
me.
on him.
It's okay. Listen, we can't let Jordan Duncan beat us. That was the conversation.
If somebody else knocks down a three, we'll take. But he can't be the one that does it.
Right.
Well, like the Suns coach screaming in the huddle, and I think it was episode 6 or 7 where they were talking about the Suns Bulls finals. Stop letting Michael beat us, and Paxson hits the shot. I think it was so.
You probably saw that one, Blair.
Yeah.
Well, he's wearing his Bulls colors. I just assumed he'd seen the whole thing. The black little red trim there. So
yeah.
So,
man, I thought you were a basketball fan. Gosh.
All but this
it's track
Sunday.
season, man.
I'm gonna say I have to take care of my wife. Mother's Day was more important.
I did too.
That's
just saying.
That's a smart answer with her sitting 10 feet away. So we do have a softball question, and it's from Mrs. Halley.
Oh crap! She found it.
So, what is your philosophy on bunting with 2 outs?
On purpose, I don't like bunting. Period. Accidentally, because you forget the number of outs. That happens from time to time. That falls into the, hey, that was my bad situations that you address at the end of games.
Do you have the Moneyball mentality? Like, Brad Pitt's like, no bunting, no more bunting.
It's not no bunting, but I do use a lot of that Moneyball type of mentality where, I think 3 or 4 batters down the line. I was like, there are times where I was like, who's coming up next inning? Yeah, all right, let's not try to end up with that kid that I want hitting next inning leading off.
Right.
I want that kid on with bases coming up. I don't like taking outs. I don't like doing those things. But if I don't think we can get there, I think about those things moving forward. But yeah, it's like I want to hit doubles. I don't like stealing bases a whole lot because I don't like running into outs.
Right.
I don't like bunting because I don't like giving up outs. So
it's not Whitey ball then.
No, and that's fine. And I'm a different softball coach. There's a lot of people that kind of think softball is a small ball game. And I don't. I think that I want balls hit dingers and doubles, doing damage every time you take a swing.
He's Earl Weaver down here at the other end.
Doubles. So.
They're like that Big Al kid, I'm Big Al, and I hit dingers. I love that.
So
the dingers doubles
shirt.
Dangerous.
Yeah. All right, Ray, I guess I'll turn it back over to you at this point. Is there anything you want to throw in there?
Where's Ray?
I like putting him on the spot. I made sure I waited till the microphone was over his skillet.
You totally took me by surprise there for a second. Sorry about that. No, I was having fun with the Osmo here. He was kind of going crazy.
It's like he was trying to get cell phone service with
that
thing.
Looking at the video, he wanted to make sure the glow off my forehead
there it is, right there.
Pretty good.
Yeah,
glow's pretty nice.
We can't fix that.
I'm gonna have
That's why you wear a hat.
I'm right there with you.
Right.
Me and Jarvis got this down.
I noticed this.
I still
see
have
they
hair.
sit in the right spot with a hat on.
Hair.
So there you go. But no, going back to myself, I mean, I still haven't had a chance to catch up on the Jordan thing, but I will say this. We've gone so many times, I don't even have to watch it. From what you opened up and you said, absolutely 100%, Mr. Miller, was if you don't come away with watching this and not knowing that this guy's probably the greatest of all time, you're silly, and I said that from the beginning. There's not much I needed to look at because, again, I always bring that whole thing up. I come from that generation, even just a little bit before that, where, you had Larry Bird and you had the other guy I don't like.
Oh, my.
Magic Johnson.
Oh,
here we
go.
So here we go. So here we go.
Here we go.
And here I go turning
James Worthy,
Jason Jarvis's
Green.
mic off. No, I'm just kidding. But
so Ray's background's got to be like Bill Walton with that towel. Just, swing that thing.
No, it wasn't. And the funny thing about it was I was a Celtics fan. I loved it. Yeah. They worked hard. But they were icons of themselves, and you guys know that. I mean, when Jordan came in, Jordan stole the show, And to see all of that just kind of fizzle for those guys that I kind of looked up to, was kind of kind of a bummer at first. Number one, number two, somebody's phone's going off. There it is. But but I mean, after a while, you just come to know, hey, dude's good. The dude's good, and he did it game in and game out, and year in and year out. How many did they win in a row? 6?
No, three each time.
Three each time. Okay,
three each time.
So 6 total. But shoot,
6 and 8 years.
6 and 8 years.
And the last 3 after his dad is murdered, and he spends
Right.
18 months away from the game, and
Right.
he has to play with a bunch of guys. When he's given Judd Buechler legit minutes.
I mean, he still had Pippen and
Yeah.
Rodman. The guy had some
he had
sporting
some play,
cast.
yeah.
Let's not act like he was. It was him. It wasn't like LeBron with the Cavs. Okay,
Well,
I mean,
now, I will say this though. I mean, everybody says we had Rodman. Okay, Rodman's going to get all kinds of rebounds, and he did. But it wasn't like he was picking up the scoring part of it either.
No. Oh, no.
And just if you think about it down the line, I mean, Ron Harper, Randy Brown, a guy like Dickie Simpkins. Scott Burrell. I mean, just
Well, and
come on now.
Poor Scott Burrell. Golly. I mean, he just ripped him one side and the other. I mean, it was fun to watch.
Hey, I just think him and Steve Kerr fighting was such a great story. And so, if spoiler alert, if you hadn't, that's just a great story.
Sorry, Blair, but he punched Steve Kerr.
Oh, thanks.
It's like, man, I just picked on the littlest guy on the team.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. He's like, oh my gosh,
He
I
didn't
just
feel all
beat up
that bad
little-
about it either.
No,
Not too bad about it. He apologized.
He did apologize, but he's like, well, but it happened. You can't change it now.
Okay, here's another poll question for you. You ever had to break up a fight at practice?
Oh, yeah, we've had a couple instances where I've had to get in between a couple kids. Yep.
Coach Miller?
I cannot confirm or no. I have. I mean, it's just kids get a little wound up, and sometimes it's good to just kind of let them work through it. But I mean,
Work through it.
it's a little different times now than when I started.
Oh, so it's not like when I was in high school and the PE teacher, depending on who was winning, would take a little time to get there.
Now the rules. Now listen, when I was first taught in PE, it was take your time getting up and stretch a little bit and then walk across the gym and then break them up. Now hurry up, get over there.
What about you, Coach Blair? You had to bust up a fracas?
Never had a fight. I had some pushing and shoving a little bit, and kind of funny that say that. There's two young ladies that are really, really good friends. Just didn't like how one of the other ones said something or did something. So, but that's on one time in my 16, 18 years that I've been coaching. So, but that was just one instance. But it got pretty heated. So,
What about you, Coach?
I've had
Alan?
a couple that have never gotten to throwing punches, but it's gotten pretty heated a couple of times. It's softball field. It's much further away too, so
It's a lot further run at each other, too.
yeah.
They
Let's just say
chuck a ball or a
there
bat
was no
at each
me
other.
running out there at that point. I was shuffling quickly at the best I could come up with. So
All right, gentlemen. Well, good
Yeah.
show. This Grammy music that's been kicking in during the acceptance
that?
speech, I think, is a
Play through it.
hint that it's
Play
time to
through it.
wrap up the evening's festivities. Ray,
It
we're
is.
going to turn it back over to
Look
you.
at Whitener trying to
Awesome.
start stuff on
Is
the
he?
comments.
Is he
Look
already?
at him.
All right.
Jeff,
Well,
I did want to start a fight with Whitener once. I'll say that.
There's plenty of people that have wanted to punch Whitener in time, too.
He's got that chain link fence between me and him. I just couldn't get to him.
well, hey, thanks, Kevin, for being on, and appreciate you guys coming in, being able to finally get together and kind of do something constructive where we're not in front of a screen, but you guys actually brought your screens with you, so kind of defeated the purpose there. But you wanted to make sure that you were able to respond and to say anything back to anybody, but there wasn't much of a lot. But anyway, thanks so much for being on, and thanks so much for being out there in the Facebook waves. And again, I want to tell you a little bit about Thursday night being out Main Street Sports. We may be on location, we may not be on location. I have been given a formal invitation by the Brick Bistro to be out there as well, so we could be out there. We will probably be out there next Tuesday. We're not sure about this Thursday yet. I got to work something out with Jeff, but we could be out there this Thursday or next Thursday. But Thursday, 7 o'clock, with Jeff Whitener and myself. We're doing our part 4 of Seniors 2020. And if you're interested in our Roku channel also, give us a call here. Not give us a call. Actually, I'm going to say log into videos.tkdssports.com, and that's how you get a hold of our Roku channel. Final real quick blurb on a Roku channel. How many of my guys here have the Roku channel? Raise your hand. Okay, Riley. Oh, you got it. So tell me, Riley, I'll pick on Riley. What is it about getting the Roku channel that makes it leaps and bounds better than anything else since sliced bread?
the clarity and the quality of it. I mean, it's unbelievable.
I bet that Bulls documentary looks awesome.
I was thinking
I knew it was coming. I was waiting for
He
it.
set him up, we knock him down.
There it is. Well, for all of us here at Livestream STL, we're going to say so long. Have a great week, and we will see you Thursday night, 7 o'clock, for Main Street Sports. Have a great evening.
Goodbye.